5 ways to simplify your wholesaling real estate. Guys, it's Rick in here with Flip with Rick. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to simplify your wholesaling so you're doing what you truly want to do, which is making a lot of money and doing it in the most precise fashion you can do. Now, I got 19 years of this, and I'm telling you, if you follow these 5 steps, you will save yourself a lot of pain, and it will keep you in the scope of wholesaling, which will make you a lot of money. So we're going to go with the simple terminology of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We are way over complicating wholesaling. You make it where you almost have to go to school with all the data and everything you need to do. I find when you get overwhelmed and things get complicated, the best thing to do is simplify. When you get back to the roots and the basics of what we do, which is wholesaling, you will actually feel better. You'll feel like you have more direction, and you'll clearly understand the path to profit. I'm going to share my 5 ways. So number 1, which is really, really important, stop trying to force a deal to work. Sometimes deals don't work. So if I have 10 prospects I'm working on, if 1 or 2 works out, I'm excited. Do not expect all 10 to work out. The minute you have expectations of 100% success, you're going to be deeply disappointed. What do I mean by not forcing a deal to work? Really simple. Here's a couple hints for it. If you have to pull a calculator out, the deal doesn't work. If you can't deal the deal in your math or on a simple piece of paper, here's a clue. You're paying way too much for it. It's just that simple. So everyone who goes and asks, they'll ask Zach, they'll ask myself, what's your MAO, which is a maximum allowed offer? Keep it simple. If you have to do a calculator, you're way overpaying for the property. 9 times out of 10, you just have to calculate how much you want to make, what the going rate for that property in its current condition. So a lot of us are trying to force deals to work. So simply, if you have to pull out a calculator, other than a simple calculation on your phone, you're paying too much. So stop trying to spend all your efforts on the deal. I was guilty of that early. Every now and then I get a deal where it's constantly trying to make the numbers crunch. The only thing you have to crunch is your offer to the seller. You don't have to keep trying to justify to make the numbers work. If they're too tight, they don't work. That means the deal's too tight. We're in wholesaling to minimize our risk and maximize our gain. The people who are going to crunch calculators the most are going to be speculators, spec builders, stuff like that. They're leaving everything to chance, and they're placing a bet. It's basically like going to Vegas and putting on a red or black. In wholesaling, we don't do that. We have a calculated risk, and we know what the return should be. So once you get into the other scope, you have problems with it. So keep it simple. Another thing I find where people try to make a deal work is they talk about the ARV. So if you don't know what an ARV is, let me break it down for you. The after repair value, the actual retail value. ARV means on its best day, in its best light, that's what it's going to sell for. Guys, if you're working at wholesaling, those numbers, that doesn't exist in my world. I'm not buying the property to put it at its best day. I want somebody else to do it. Never do you ever want to do it. If you wind up being a rehabber, it means you're not a wholesaler. And that's like another scope of work because you got to know how to do the contractor. When you hear ARV, the number's irrelevant to you because 9 times out of 10 is just a made up number. It is a perfect world number and it doesn't exist. And I don't want you to get it to that statute unless it's in its last 5%. What you need to focus on is what we call the CRV, the current real value. I hate the word retail. We don't deal with, we're wholesalers. We don't deal in retail. So CRV is what you need to find. You don't want to find the ARV because that's what your end buyer is going to find it. Let them set that number. You're never going to be able to make it right for them. So the CRV, which is the current real value, is if I'm buying a property and it's worth $200,000 and I'm buying it for $150 and I've identified it can sell for $175. $175 is the CRV. That's what I want to sell it for. I'd like to get it done quickly on assignment, minimize my risk, $25,000 profit. That's keeping it simple. Stupid. Guys, stop trying to force this. You're never going to make it work. Now, if you try to take the ARV and you try to do all these manipulations, and then you go to the next phase, and then you look for what we call, you start hunting for your bias confirmation. How do you do that? Well, you go on the internet, you go on Facebook, and you throw it out in a group. I don't know, with like 100,000 people and you go, hey, what do you guys think about like this one? And go through it. Now, you're going to get 20 or 30 comments. Most of them are going to be by people that A, have never flipped a house, B, you have no verification of what they've done, and then you start trying to validate other people's opinions. The only opinion that matters is the factual data. What is the CRV for that? Stop spending your time on ARV because you're guessing. Sometimes it'll work out wonderfully. Sometimes it will destroy you. The problem is in wholesaling, it doesn't make sense to go that way. When you're looking for bias confirmation, you're looking for someone to confirm your opinion. So say if you got 20 comments and one or two agreed with you, you tend to try to justify that instead of taking in all the comments. Here's the problem, guys, is you're letting complete strangers run your business if you do that. And that's no way to run a business. You have to simplify it. Do your math. Like simplify your math. And if you can't get it done in a couple minutes, you're overpaying for it, or you just have to go back and renegotiate your deal, which is part of wholesaling. Stop trying to make the numbers work all the time. If you're trying to focus on ARV, I want you to switch doing a CRV, the current real value, and then stop looking for confirmation bias on the internet, your friends, definitely your family. The last thing you want to ask your family is what to flip a property for, because you'll get nothing but ARV numbers. That's number one. Number two, stop believing everything, which ties into what I just said earlier. If it's on the internet, it does not mean it's true. You have no validation of who's behind that post or what's going on. Just stop believing it. So how do we do that? Let's get back to basics. If your buyer's list is struggling and a lot of people are wasting your time doing stuff like that, you're believing everything your buyers tell you. So what you have to do is just go through a verification process. Make it as simple and direct to the point. Your first three questions should be the most important. Number one, do you have the money? Number two, you go over the price. And number three, what's their experience level? And honestly, if you can't get through that, you're like, don't waste your time. A lot of you are telling me, well, Rick, you know, buyers go crazy when you ask for proof of funds because they don't have it. It's the truth. You're just cutting to it. When you're going around to sell your cash buyers, we don't have time to sit there and court them. We want to get to the matter of fact. The other one I also look for, if I'm doing an assignment agreement, I want to make sure that person's comfortable with the assignment and hopefully they've done one before. If not, you're going to have a bit of an uphill climb. The verification process, so many of us like get so excited when we see a contract. You got to go through the contract, make sure it's real. We talked about verifying your buyers, your sellers. Guess what, guys? They lie to you too. Take everything they tell you, but go and verify the information. If you got to do some basic inspections or anything like that on a questionable house, honestly, if you're going back and re-inspecting the house, it probably means you're paying too much for it. Make sure you verify the information. Also, when you guys use your vendors, make sure they got a license, make sure they know what they're doing, and make sure they come in with a quote or an estimate prior to doing the work. And anyone who tries to charge you like $100, $200 fee just to come out and look at them, get rid of them. They're really, really bad business decisions. We see a lot of that going on in our industry on it. So guys, just stop believing everything and just verify it. Number two. Number three, a really, really big one is hiring a coach or / mentor will not fix all your wholesaling problems. Actually, it was just the start of it. So many of you out there are like, well, you know, I'm struggling to do it. Honestly, if you would just go back to simplifying your wholesaling down to these 5 steps, you do amazing, because that's what every coach is going to teach you when it's said and done. Take my word for it. I've hired everybody out there. And for the most part, I foolishly believed in the beginning that if I hired a coach, it would magically fix all my problems. And I got to be honest with you, it didn't. I don't want you to fall in a trap when a coach, if you decide to do a coach, and by the way, I'm not against a coach. I've hired coaches in the past, is make sure you vet your coach. How do you do that? Make sure they're active in the business. Make sure that a majority of their business is not just coaching. So how do you do that? Just ask for HUDs. Like, it's really simple. Show me your marketing. Like, what do you do in marketing? How much you're spending? They should be able to share 100% everything with you. It'll be very, very apparent very quickly if they're going to share this information with you. See, if I'm paying you a fee, I believe you should share all your information with your business, right? Isn't that the point of coaching? But when they selectively share information with you, that's where it becomes challenging. And the question is, are you run a coaching model or you have a flipping one? Verify your coaches. I don't care what the fee is. If it's 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. The bottom line is don't let the fee prevent you. Like, well, he's charging 10,000, Rick, I don't have to vet him. Honestly, you got to vet him more. The fees regardless. So whatever you pay a consultant, a coach, a mentor, I don't care what it is. Do not skip the vetting process, because that's where most of you are absolutely making your mistake. Don't let the fee distract you from vetting your coach. Number two, tell your coach they need to be 100% open with you. If they don't want to share their personal business with you, do not take their advice, because they're going to sell you pie in the sky stuff, which is theory. You don't need theory. You need a practical business plan. And remember, sometimes if you got a coach on the other side of the country, like what works in California and Florida, like they're two different animals. I always strongly suggest you hire someone that has a true wholesaling business model. And if you can find them somewhere near in your community, that's awesome. Here's a little secret. Most coaches in a local market, they don't want to work with you because they don't want you competing in their business. And to be honest with you, that's a really small mindset. And if you get that to come up, just be aware your coach doesn't have an abundance mindset, and I would be nervous. By the way, most coaches will not teach people locally in their market how to do it, but then they go on the internet and tell you about abundance and mindset, and there is no competition. And last but not least, always know where you wind up in the funnel. Here at Flip with Rick, I don't sell you anything. So you know there's no funnel to go through. Everything we do for free, and we help you out for free, and we share everything 100% without a fee. So you know me and Zach are 100% transparent. So I want you to understand, whenever somebody has a free podcast, they have a free webinar, anything like that, they are starting you off on a funnel. And I'm okay with it. That's how people need to learn to make decisions to buy. But understanding, you think you're getting this for free, what are their true intentions? Where are they trying to walk you down what path? And if you know that up front, you'll kind of see it before you get hit with the train. Okay, moving on to number 4. You just have to put the work in. The sooner you accept this, the better your wholesaling real estate business will be. You don't have to hustle to get addresses. You don't have to find motivated sellers. You're going to get disappointed. When you start out in this business, especially the first 12 to 24 months, you solely have to spend your energy on marketing activities and sales activities. Sales activities, talking to sellers, marketing's finding mediums to connect with sellers. Bottom line is you have to focus on income generating activities. So many people, including myself, you get distracted looking at reports, and KPIs are important. But at the end of the day, I'd rather you spend 2 hours talking to sellers than spending 2 hours combing through KPI reports. KPI reports should be at a quick glance to help you navigate and make adjustments in your business. It's really important. You got to put in the work. There is no substitute, especially in the first 24 months. And number 5, the last but not least, wholesaling will be a journey. And what do I mean by that? You're going to struggle. Like, accept it. Can you imagine anything you've done in life that hasn't had a struggle? You would never appreciate the reward. So understanding it's going to be an up and down roller coaster ride. It has been for me for 19 years, and I enjoy every minute. I take the good with the bad. I learn not to get too high on stuff, and I know not to get too low when stuff doesn't work out. Acknowledge you will have a struggle and understand your why for wholesaling. Mine's always about spending more time with my family and having the freedom to do what I want whenever I want. And so time and money gives me the freedom. That's why I do wholesaling, and that is my why. And whenever I struggle, guys, it's easy to quit. Like, anybody can quit. There's nothing special about quitting. The best way to stay in wholesaling and keep it simple is to actually stay in the business and not quit it. How do I do that? Make sure you work the business and make sure you know your why. Your why is going to get you through your struggle. These are my top 5. They're not necessarily in order, but I'm telling you, if you can do these 5 things to simplify your wholesaling real estate business, amazing things will happen. I find that we're all complicating this too much. You tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think these 5 parameters will help simplify your wholesaling business? And do you acknowledge when things get complicated, you need to go back to the basics to make things work? It's no different than any type of sport. You just have to practice through repetition. This is the same thing, guys. You know the drill. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the absolute best content on wholesaling on the internet today. Hit that like button, share this video with someone that you think needs to simplify their wholesaling business. And this is Rick Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.